Welcome to the Mindieverse and a sneak peek of our brand new upcoming dating show called
Love Shack. No.
That was totally the worst possible start that you could possibly had to a new show.
I almost said Love Shack, and I'm like, it's not the Love Shack.
It is not the Love Shack. That is a very famous song by the B-52s. I am your host, Keith Turner, here with the very best, co-host on the face of the universe, or should I say the Mindieverse?
Melanie Valois. Hello.
Okay. So no more screwing up, okay?
No more screwing up.
Okay.
Pay
attention.
Try that again?
Be serious. No, we won't try it again. And
no, that's shit. Sorry.
Are we starting again?
That's okay, because I messed it up.
No, I just was thinking it was kind of good that she meant like
maybe we'll cut. We'll be able to maybe edit that in somehow. But anyway,
a blooper. Okay.
Blooper over. Let's get back to it. Okay. So,
are we ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
We are here to talk about and give a sneak peek on one of our first very exciting podcasts called, do you want to say it this time?
It's called Lovecast.
Lovecast.
I thought I was the host. I am your host, Keith Turner, here with the very, very best co-host on the face of the Mindieverse,
Melanie Valois.
So what are we going to talk about, Melanie? Are we going to talk about love in the 21st century?
Well, Keith.
What would I know about that?
As a young single woman myself,
mm-hmm.
You have to ask the question of, are you tired of swiping on your phone or sitting at a bar hoping that someone will chat you up and ask for your number, going on crappy dates that you feel awkward about and think, why did I do that? Are you tired of it? And if you are, why don't you try something new? And what better to do than
join the
Lovecast.
The cast of love, right here on Mindieverse. And how does this all work? Well, the good news is you actually get to kind of help us figure out how it works. Mm-hmm. But this is the general idea. A person in search of love comes to our podcast studio and visits with Melanie and I. And because we want them to feel safe and confidential, yes, we will blur your face.
Unless you want to be famous.
Well, then it's kind of not a blind date show anymore, but never mind. It's the point being that we want you to be able to go. We're going to facilitate you go on a blind date. How do we find these fine, upstanding datees for you? Well, they get to apply through the Mindie website, through the Mindieverse, that yes, I would like to go on a date with this kind of person. And we will bring a suitable person, into the studio, and they will interview those that have applied. And how will they do that? Well, it seems like an old-fashioned talk radio format where they dial in, but we can use some fancy new technology for that, including a thing called a roadcaster. So nobody actually gets to see each other. They only get to hear each other.
Yes.
You and I get to look into each other's eyes, but that doesn't count for anything.
It doesn't.
We need other people to look into each other's eyes and find love.
Yeah. I mean, maybe someone has such a nice voice, it doesn't even matter how they look.
And that's the thing. Maybe the superficial nature of the original interaction is replaced by having to dig a little deeper right out of the gate. And that is why the person who is joining us in the studio gets to ask a series of well-constructed questions of the targets, shall we call them?
The targets.
And the targets get to ask a few intelligent, stress word intelligent, questions back so that during the course of the show and with our help, that person makes up their mind as to who they want to go on a blind date with.
Yeah.
No, there will be no pictures. Nobody will be seen until that moment, the big reveal, when that person shows up for their blind date, stepping out of their limo, provided before by Mindieverse.
This is like the Bachelor or the Bachelorette when they get
A little
to the
bit,
house and they step
more
out
of
of
a
the
budget
limo.
than that, but not bad.
A little bit more of a budget.
A little bit more of a budget,
Yeah.
but still a limo.
Yeah,
Might
limo
be
nonetheless.
an old limo, but never mind.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be an experience. We are going to put that fine person so that they can be safe. They will be picked up from their home and they will be taken to meet the other person who will be waiting for them at a restaurant. They don't even have to pay for the meal. They don't even have to pay for their wine.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. You get to see whether or not one-on-one, meeting for the very first time, you click.
Exactly. It's getting to know somebody on that verbal level before the visual, because how often, I don't know about you, but how often do you see someone that's particularly good looking and then you talk to them and there isn't an ounce of substance?
Well, I mean, we want to be clear here that we want people of all persuasions, shall we say, to participate in this. But if you were to just look at it from the male-female perspective just for a moment, you know, how many times does a woman or another male find a male to be a complete dumbass?
Yeah.
Once they meet them. I think asking them questions and listening to them, and there's a big word there, listening.
That is a big word.
It's a big word. That's a naughty word, really.
It's hard for some people, I would say.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem. It often always, never mind. Always hard before you actually have the conversation. So I think what we're encouraging people to do is dig a little deeper, ask some intelligent questions, and go along with an open mind and an open heart, knowing full well you're going on a nice night out, and maybe, just maybe, this could be the one.
Could be.
Your forever person. And we encourage them not to get too drunk on the first date.
Or just be sober. I mean, I'm doing a semi-dry January.
Semi-dry January.
You've got your non-alcoholic beer.
Yep.
I've got my ginger beer.
Yep.
But I think one thing that we really need to add as a term and condition of coming on, interviewing or being interviewed, going on a date, the exception is that no matter how the date goes, it could be incredible. It could be the worst date you've ever been on.
Yep.
And guess what? You got to tell us all about it. How'd it go?
Every single episode of Lovecast is split into a new date and a returning date.
Yes.
And our hope and our plan is to encourage both those parties of that date to come in. And even though it might be uncomfortable, heck, maybe we have to keep them apart because they're slobbering over each other. Like, ooh, that'd be actually worse. Worse. Don't want to be cleaning up the mess afterwards.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point being that they have to hold themselves accountable for the fact that we did take good care of them. And back to the taking care of, we would also make sure that both parties were safe home too.
Yeah.
We want this to be a fun experience all around. We don't want anybody taking advantage of a situation that was, you know, sponsored by us, for example.
Yeah.
But we want people to go and have a fun time and an open mind and come back and talk about it. Because guess what? They probably learned some things. Even if the date wasn't real love, they might have found themselves a nice new friend. They might have found somebody who thinks to themselves, actually, my sister would be a better date for this person than me. But they do have to come back and tell us just how good or just how bad it is.
And that is the, as the young folks say, tea that we want.
What does that even mean? I'm serious now. I'm asking. What does the T stand for? Is it like tea to drink or tea?
Well, that is how so people would say, spill the tea. Spill the tea, sis. What happened? Which is pretty much, give me the gossip.
Right.
Give me the download. Give me the dirty details of whatever it is that they want to hear about. And I think that that's what, I mean, not to be self-serving here, but I want to know how the dates go.
Right.
I'm invested in the love of people that I don't even have a relationship with.
Should we really put you on the spot and ask you what the worst date you've ever been on is?
You know what's funny?
Well, you've never had a bad date.
I was thinking about it, and
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been on a bad date. And it could be that maybe some of those days just were maybe too surface level for it to get bad, if that's what you want to say. But I've never really been on a bad date, which I'm grateful for. But at the same time, I'd love to go on like the shittiest date ever and have a good story to tell.
Really?
Yeah. What about you?
I definitely.
I know you must have had a bad date in your life.
I've never had a date in my life, so it's hard to have.
Are you a virgin?
No, I'm not. But anyway, I have so many things to say about that because we could turn this into a completely different type of show, but we're not going to do that. What I would say about bad dates are what is a bad date? And I think at the end of the day, a bad date is not necessarily one where you didn't fall in love. A bad date is where you basically thought to yourself, I really, truly hope I never see that person again.
Yeah.
And we don't want that. We don't want that in the Mindieverse.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want that on Lovecast. What we really want to do is try and match people properly through them asking these intelligent or semi-intelligent questions.
Yeah.
And I don't want us to be like any of those other shows that build the drama.
Build it up.
We want, gossip's fun and Bubs is fun. And people are still hopefully going to talk about this show the next day to, their friends and say, did you hear about that person that went on Lovecast last night? We want that. But what we don't want is to create artificial drama. If somebody is hurting and they're upset, well, we need to pay attention and listen to that. We do want this to be real, but we also want it to be fun. So bad dates. I mean, I have hosted shows before of this nature in general where some strange things have actually happened.
All right, give me one. Give me the most memorable.
There were three that were worth talking about. One, the gentleman that was in the studio claiming to be an airline pilot with no children and a bachelor, was in fact a bus driver, married with 3 kids, and his wife listened in on the show and came to visit the studio.
You're joking.
No, that was absolutely the case. And then there was, and yes, that was quite something because nowadays what would happen is you would just make that part of the show and you would build all the drama, but we were just mortified for the poor woman. And then of course we had to sort of like stop the show and kick the guy out. So that was really bad. So we don't really want to have that sort of layer of deceit in the show.
Do people need to hand in a resume, do a criminal background check, write a cover letter, have references?
No, well, but at the time we wish we had done that. And then we did have a couple who actually got engaged. And that is a true story. I didn't find out about it 6 months later, but we did actually have a couple who met that way, who actually got engaged. So they did find true love.
Oh my gosh!
And then there was the memorable and unforgettable experience of being live on air when we had a sex therapist on the show. Because I think that's actually something very seriously that these type of shows would benefit from actually having a professional, whether it's a counselor, somebody who can actually help people.
I want one of those.
Yeah, well, that was the theory. It was a good theory. We actually had it in there. But as the story goes, and it is a true story, that unfortunately at the break, or whatever you call it, the commercial break for this particular show, I am in the bathroom taking a pee, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I still hearing voices over the radio?
Oh no.
And so the young lady who was attending the show and the sex therapist thought they were off air, and the young lady had taken it upon herself to discuss something very, very personal and intimate about her body and her sexuality that got extremely graphic.
No.
the entire audience of Vancouver got to hear about that.
Oh man, the secondhand embarrassment I'm having right now.
She was mortified.
Oh.
But fortunately, we did allow people, and which is note to self, to use the one piece of deception that they're allowed to use is not give the real name on the show, because that can come later when they meet face to face. And that way everybody is protected, like not showing their faces. But so lessons learned. And that's why in today's world, knowing all of the difficulties from swiping right, from meeting people and trying to find, if not love, then authenticity in that meeting, in that friendship. I think we in the Mindieverse are committed to doing it right, don't you think?
100%. Without a doubt. And it's about to happen.
Yep.
This is, as you said, the sneak peek. What's it going to be? And you know what? By the time we put out our first episode, it might be even saucier and even funkier. And
we'll be guided by our Mindies and by our creators. And basically, I guess we could say this is not just the sneak peek. This is the opportunity for you, if you see this video, if you want to be on Lovecast, if you want to be among the very first people on Lovecast, how can they get in touch with us? They can send us an email to?
Well, they can send an email to info@mindie.global.
All right.
We also have a website, and you can always go to our join page and put yourself out as either a creator, a Mindie, or simply other.
Yeah.
Whatever sort of category you fall
I'd
into.
love to be on your dating show. And then you just give either an email or a callback number, and a Mindie expert will reach out to you. And lo and behold, love is in the air.
Yeah.
On the
www.
air. Love is on the air.
Love
www.
Love is on the air.
Are we talking wrestling now? Are we there already? What the heck?
Just go to www.mindie.global to sign up, or send an email to info@mindie.global.
You've done this before.
Thank you for listening to my brief message.
So this has been the brief sneak peek
Yes.
of one of our forthcoming shows. It'll be among our first shows. We know there's an audience for it. Lots of people have told us that they're waiting on this show. We think you'll enjoy it. And we've been reaching out to restaurants and to car companies and florists. Lots of people want to be, involved, and to make sure that the experience, the immersive experience that our datees go on is first rate. And all the jokes about cheapness aside, don't worry, we'll take good care of you. So how do we sign off of a what do we want to call a sneak peek?
Sneak peek.
Do we just say, looking forward to seeing you in the Mindieverse, looking forward to love casting you?
Until, I like that.
I like that too.
We can't wait to love cast you. I was just going to say until next time.
Until next time.
But
Be prepared to be love cast.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.